Unilever's Dove and Suave products were on shelves for over a year, even after internal tests revealed benzene, a carcinogen linked to leukemia, in their dry shampoos. Behind the scenes, emails showed the company had known about the contamination since 2021, yet no public recall was issued until late 2022. Meanwhile, millions continued to use the aerosol sprays, unknowingly exposed to a chemical that should never have been there in the first place. If you're tired of being lied to, if you're ready to expose the truth they don't want you to know, then don't just watch. Join this fight. Hit subscribe right now so you never miss the facts the corporations hope you'll ignore. Every new video pulls back the curtain a little more, and together we're building a movement they can't silence. Subscribe, stay informed, and let's take back control, one truth at a time. The silence wasn't accidental, it was strategic. And it's not just Unilever. Procter & Gamble, whose Pantene and Herbal Essences sprays were also found to contain benzene, issued their own quiet recall, triggering lawsuits and sparking questions about what else these brands aren't telling us. This is not an isolated lapse, it's a pattern. Major names like Gilcrisin SS, Dermarite, and Dermacan have had their soaps and cleansers pulled due to contamination with deadly bacteria like Burkholderia cepacia complex. Some of these microbes resist antibiotics and cause life-threatening infections, especially in hospitals and nursing homes, where the most vulnerable are at risk. Even natural or gentle no-shampoo products have led to severe hair loss and permanent scalp damage, as seen in lawsuits against Wen. These failures make one thing clear: brand reputation doesn't equal safety, and when oversight breaks down, the products we trust daily, those we use on our skin, our hair, even on children, can quietly turn toxic. You walk into your bathroom every morning, grab that bottle of shampoo or body wash, and you trust it. It's from a brand you've known for years. Maybe it's sitting there with a Dove, a Pantene, a Suave, maybe even something that came from a luxury hotel. You lather up, you rinse, you move on. But what if what you're using isn't just ineffective, it's dangerous? This isn't fear-mongering. This isn't exaggeration. This is happening right now. 6 major personal care products used by millions have been recalled or exposed for contamination with deadly bacteria, antibiotic-resistant pathogens, and even cancer-causing chemicals. Trusted names like Unilever and Procter & Gamble have come under fire, and the details are worse than you think. Unilever, a household giant, issued a recall of aerosol dry shampoos sold under Dove, Suave, Tresemme, and Nexus. The reason? Benzene, a known carcinogen directly linked to leukemia and blood marrow cancers. Benzene doesn't belong in personal care products. It doesn't belong in anything you put near your skin, but it was there, lurking in the propellant used in these sprays. And the worst part, investigations suggest Unilever knew about it since 2021. They knew, and they waited. They delayed recalls. They prioritized damage control and profits instead of immediate safety. If you used any of those sprays, check your batch codes. Benzene exposure isn't something you take lightly. This isn't about mild irritation. We're talking about a substance capable of altering your blood, your immune system, your DNA. And Unilever isn't alone. Procter & Gamble, the company behind Pantene, Herbal Essences, Aussie, and Waterless, was forced to pull several aerosol dry shampoos and conditioners off the shelves. Again, benzene. Again, the same story. Contamination through pressurized gases. The products were sold everywhere, from big box stores to salons. Products you might have used on your kids. Products sitting in your gym bag right now. It led to lawsuits, questions, and a spotlight on a broken system where companies are allowed to self-regulate until it's too late. This isn't a fluke, this isn't rare, it's a pattern, and it gets worse. Take the so-called no-shampoo movement, the trendy Instagram-worthy haircare revolution. Brands like Wen claim to offer gentler, natural alternatives to traditional shampoos. What thousands of users got instead: hair loss, bald patches, inflamed scalps, clogged follicles that never recovered. The lawsuits hit hard, costing the company millions, but for the people affected, the damage was already done. Permanent, irreversible, all because the product built up on the scalp and suffocated the hair at its root. Now let's talk about luxury, because even expensive doesn't mean safe. Gilcrisin SS, a brand commonly used in high-end hotels, was recalled after dangerous bacteria were found in their shampoos and body washes. These weren't minor contaminants. We're talking about bacteria that can cause blindness, sepsis, even death. FDA inspections found filthy manufacturing conditions, poor cleaning procedures, and negligence across the board. So while people were pampering themselves with what they thought were premium products, they were unknowingly applying infected, life-threatening bacteria to their skin and eyes. Let that sink in. The illusion of safety shattered. And then there's Dermarite, a name trusted in healthcare settings, hospitals, nursing homes, even in-home care. They produce hospital-grade hand and body washes, or at least, that's what they claimed. Those products were recalled after being found contaminated with Burkholderia cepacia complex, a bacteria that's especially dangerous to people with weakened immune systems, the very people these products were meant to protect. In vulnerable patients, this bacteria doesn't just cause mild infections, it leads to fatal complications, bloodstream infections, respiratory failure, sepsis, and it happened because quality control broke down. Microbiological testing was either ignored, failed, or falsified. The oversight we count on simply didn't exist. Lives were put at risk. Again, and Dermacan, the maker of antiseptic lotions and cleansers widely used in hospitals and homes, was caught in the same trap. Their products too tested positive for Burkholderia bacteria. These are antiseptics meant to protect, yet they were spreading bacteria resistant to common antibiotics. It's the cruelest irony, and it proves that these issues are not isolated. They are systemic. The deeper you look, the more dangerous it gets. These products weren't niche. They weren't obscure brands from unknown companies. They were everyday essentials, trusted names, distributed widely, sold openly, used on children, the elderly, immunocompromised patients, and they carried carcinogens and bacteria capable of disabling or killing. So how does this keep happening? Because the system is broken, supply chains are sprawling and opaque, safety testing is often outsourced or inadequately performed, regulations are riddled with loopholes, and companies are left to self-police until something goes horribly wrong. Benzene shows up in your shampoo, bacteria shows up in your body wash, and you don't know it's happening until it's on the news, or worse, after someone gets sick. This isn't a matter of paranoia, it's a matter of vigilance. These hazards, benzene, Burkholderia, antibiotic-resistant microbes, aren't visible. You won't smell them, you won't see them, you won't feel them until they've already done damage. That's why it's on you to be informed. You have to read the labels, look for batch codes, check recall lists, avoid aerosol products. Where possible, choose pump or powder alternatives. Demand transparency from the brands you use. More importantly, we need to talk about who's most at risk. Children, seniors, people undergoing chemo, people with open wounds, in hospitals, long-term care homes, or even in our own homes. These populations can't afford exposure to bacterial contaminants. A compromised immune system plus a contaminated soap, that's a recipe for sepsis, for systemic infection, for hospitalization, or worse. This isn't theoretical, this is real. It's documented, and it happened across brands and industries. And what about corporate accountability? Unilever delayed its benzene recall after allegedly knowing about the contamination for months. Procter & Gamble had products with similar issues. Companies behind hospital-grade products failed to test for deadly bacteria. The negligence isn't accidental, it's structural. These companies know the risks, but testing is expensive. Recalls hurt revenue. Transparency scares investors. So instead of acting swiftly, they spin the narrative, downplay the danger, hope no one notices. And regulators, they're playing catch-up. Recalls often come after widespread exposure. Testing standards are inconsistent. Inspections are infrequent. Enforcement is weak. The FDA and other agencies are often under-resourced and reactive instead of proactive. That's how contaminated products reach store shelves in the first place. So what can you do? Stay informed. Demand more. Don't assume that because something is on a store shelf, it's safe. It might not be. Don't assume that because a brand is big, it's trustworthy. It might not be. Choose products with transparent ingredients, independent safety testing, and clear labeling. Prioritize those marked as microbiologically tested, and push for legislation that enforces stricter batch testing and real-time monitoring in manufacturing facilities. Convenience is killing us. That quick spray of dry shampoo might contain benzene. That hotel soap might be crawling with bacteria. The marketing is slick, the packaging is clean, but the risks are hidden, and they're serious. If your shampoo can cause cancer, or your body wash can infect your bloodstream, that's not a minor mistake. That's a public health crisis. The message here is simple. Don't trust blindly. Check everything. Be loud. Be skeptical. And never assume safety based on reputation alone. The cost of doing nothing is your health, or someone else's. If you found this information helpful, make sure you like, share, and comment below with your thoughts or personal experiences. Subscribe for more no-nonsense updates that protect your health and expose what corporations don't want you to know. Stay safe, stay sharp, and read the damn label. Now let's get brutally honest. We're not just talking about isolated accidents. We're talking about a pattern, one that points to systemic greed, laziness, and a complete disregard for consumer safety. This isn't a matter of oops, a bad batch got through. This is what happens when corporations cut corners. This is what happens when safety protocols are optional, not enforced. This is what happens when regulators lack teeth and the public isn't informed until the damage is already done. Think about it. How many of us ever stop to check the batch code on a shampoo bottle? How many of us look for independent testing certifications before buying a body wash? We don't. We're trained to trust logos. We assume if it's on the shelf, it must be fine. And that's exactly how they get away with it. That trust, that unearned, dangerous trust, is what corporations like Unilever and P&G have relied on for decades. And when that trust is betrayed, it's not them who suffer. It's the people who bought their products in good faith. It's the mother who used dry shampoo on her teenage daughter, not knowing she was exposing her to a known carcinogen. It's the elderly man in a care home who used an antiseptic cleanser tainted with deadly bacteria. It's the woman who tried a trendy no shampoo solution, only to watch her hair fall out in clumps. These aren't exaggerations. These are outcomes documented in recalls, lawsuits, and FDA reports. And let's not forget, benzene is not a mystery. It's not new. Its link to cancer has been known for decades. It has no place in personal care products, period. Yet it keeps showing up again and again. Why? Because it slips in through the back door as a contaminant in the propellants used in aerosol sprays. Companies know this risk, but it's cheaper to keep using these gases than to reformulate. So they gamble with your health. And when they get caught, what do? They issue a recall quietly. No big press release, no nationwide alert, just a press statement buried on their corporate website telling you to check your batch code. That's it. That's their version of accountability. They knew the danger. They waited. They hoped you wouldn't notice. And when they couldn't hide it anymore, they threw out a press release and moved on. And if you're thinking, well, I don't use aerosol shampoos, so I'm safe, don't be so sure. What about your hospital soap? What about that antiseptic hand wash in your grandma's nursing home? What about the fancy body wash you picked up at a luxury hotel? The bacteria found in Dermarite and Dermacan products aren't just gross, they're deadly. Burkholderia cepacia complex is a serious threat, especially for people with weakened immune systems. It doesn't just cause irritation, it can enter the bloodstream, it can cause sepsis, it can kill. And these weren't obscure off-brand products. These were used in healthcare settings, trusted because of the labels, trusted because of the marketing. But labels lie, marketing lies, bacteria doesn't. The entire idea that luxury means safety is a joke. Gilchrist and SS products were found contaminated with bacteria capable of causing blindness. That's not just ironic, it's obscene. These are products you'd find in high-end hotels, places that pride themselves on offering the best. But what's the point of lavender-scented soap if it might send you to the hospital? So let's ask the obvious question, where is the accountability? Why are corporations allowed to self-report their failures? Why is microbiological testing not mandatory for every single batch? Why is benzene, a known carcinogen, still popping up in products in 2025? Because regulation is reactionary, not preventative. Because companies know they can issue a recall, pay a settlement, and continue doing business as usual, because the system is built to protect profits, not people. And let's talk about how these companies react when they're exposed. Do they rush to reassure the public with transparency? Do they admit fault? No, they downplay the risks. They call it trace levels. They say there's no immediate threat. They use technical jargon to confuse and calm you, all while knowing that long-term exposure to these contaminants can lead to cancer, infection, and irreversible damage. If you're wondering how this keeps happening, it's because there are no real consequences. Lawsuits, they settle. Fines, just another line item on the balance sheet. Recalls, they spin them as a precautionary measure. There's no real fear of punishment, no criminal charges, no executive accountability, just PR damage control and business as usual. Meanwhile, you're left with the consequences. You're left trying to figure out what's safe. You're left worrying if your child's rash is from that gentle shampoo. You're left wondering if that odd smell in your body wash was more than just a scent issue. And let's not forget the emotional cost. Losing your hair due to a mislabeled product isn't just physical, it's traumatic. Watching a loved one develop an infection from a cleanser meant to protect them isn't just tragic, it's enraging, and it's all preventable. That's what makes this so unacceptable. These aren't unavoidable accidents. These are the result of negligence, of cost cutting, of corner cutting. These are corporate choices that prioritize the bottom line over basic human safety. So what now? What can you do? First, check your products, check the batch codes, go to the company websites, look for recall lists. If you see anything that's even remotely questionable, throw it out. Second, stop trusting branding over facts. Don't assume a product is safe just because it comes from a big name. Don't assume luxury means tested. Don't assume natural means harmless. Marketing is not science. Reputation is not regulation. Third, demand more. Contact companies. Ask them what kind of testing they do. Ask if their products are microbiologically tested. Ask for transparency. If they can't give you a clear answer, stop buying their products. Fourth, talk about it. Share this information with your family, with your friends, with your community. The more people who know, the harder it is for these companies to hide. And finally, demand better regulation. Support policies that require independent batch testing, that enforce recalls publicly and quickly, that impose real penalties for endangering public health, because this can't keep happening. We can't keep pretending that personal care products are harmless. They're not. They're chemical, they're biological, and when the system fails, you pay the price. So take your power back, read the labels, ask questions, make noise, and don't let them off the hook. Let's not sugarcoat this, because the companies sure will. They'll say things like, "We care deeply about our customers," right after releasing products laced with cancer-causing chemicals or contaminated with hospital-grade bacteria. They'll plaster clinically tested and dermatologist-approved across the packaging, but what they won't tell you is whether those tests were independent, thorough, or even recent. They'll spend more money designing sleek labels and influencer campaigns than on microbial testing that could save lives. Let that sink in. They're hoping you never flip the bottle over. They're banking on you being too busy to dig into batch codes or recall notices. They want you distracted by the scent of coconut and the buzzword, natural, while they quietly keep a contaminated supply chain moving. Because once you do look, once you do start asking questions, the entire illusion collapses, and when it does, it's ugly. This industry is rotten from the inside. Safety isn't the baseline, it's an afterthought. Regulations aren't strict, they're flexible. Enforcement isn't swift, it's reactive. And until something catastrophic happens, these companies just keep selling, smiling, and cashing in. That's why this can't be a passive issue anymore. You need to be the one who questions everything. You need to be the one who chooses the safer alternative, even if it's less convenient. Because let's face it, what's more inconvenient than a bloodstream infection? What's more inconvenient than losing your hair, your eyesight, or your life to a product you trusted? Start with your bathroom. Look at every label. Search those batch codes. Throw away anything recalled, anything unverified, anything from companies who violated your trust. Replace them with products that show their testing certifications, that prove their safety, that aren't hiding behind vague promises. And corporate spin, but don't stop there. Tell your friends, talk to your family, post about it, because the only thing more powerful than a billion-dollar corporation is a well-informed public. When enough people stop buying toxic products, when enough voices demand transparency, things change, not because corporations suddenly grow a conscience, but because their bottom line is threatened. That's how you fight back. You fight back by refusing to be silent, by refusing to accept that some contamination is normal, by refusing to treat your health like collateral damage in someone else's profit model. You don't owe these companies your trust. They need to earn it every single day, with transparency, with independent testing, with recalls issued the moment danger is detected, not months later when they get caught. And until then, we hold the line, we speak the truth, we expose what they'd rather keep buried in legal disclaimers and quiet settlements, because silence protects them, but awareness protects you. So if you're still here, if you're fired up, don't scroll away. Like this video to push it into more feeds. Share it with someone who needs to wake up. Comment your thoughts, your experiences, your questions. Make your voice heard. And subscribe, because the next recall is coming, and you deserve to know before it's too late. They're not looking out for you, but we are.